Well, if you're a home team, it's been great so far. We'll see if the Lakers can close it out with the home team sweep. They're getting ready to open up their series against the Rockets. That's next. Welcome inside the Times Square studio. Everybody get the fourth game. Fourth game. We're ready for the fourth one. It is the last game of our quadruple header. The Lakers and Rockets. And just moments ago, our Jim Gray spoke with Kobe Bryant.
Kobe, do you feel as though those two shots that you made in Portland to send it into overtime and then to win the game has carried over and there's a momentum with your team coming into the playoffs?
We'll see. We're ready. We're mentally prepared, and we're excited that the playoffs are here.
Kobe, so much was said and written the last week about you. What's your assessment of what's gone on here the past 6 days?
You know what? I just don't let it get to me. I just try to block it out and, do what I do best for this team.
The injuries on your team a big concern tonight. How is Carl? How is Rick? How is Derek? And how is Kareem?
They're doing all right. Rick, he's been doing okay the past couple days. Carl looks like he's, ready to give it a go. And, Devin still has young legs, so he should be all right.
Kobe, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Back to you guys.
All right, so Kobe Bryant ready to roll. Got to ask you, though, do you think there'll be any issues going into the playoffs? Any residual from what happened Sunday in Sacramento?
No, I think Kobe's going to try to take 30-some-odd shots, and, the game's going to be a 2-point game. Yao's going to shut down Shaq, and Houston's going to win.
I do think Houston has a chance to win this game, but more so because of all the uncertainty surrounding the role players of the L.A. Lakers, not knowing if they're going to be able to go out and play 100% in the playoffs.
Excuses?
What's the excuse?
Excuses. Injuries? It's his playoffs. Keep playing.
You're right. Just like Shaq. No excuses. No excuses.
Laker hater.
With the absence of Michael Jordan, I consider Kobe Bryant to be the ultimate assassin in the game today. The boy is big time, and he's not going to allow anything to be a distraction. And because of that, the Lakers will take Houston out in 6 games.
But is there any ill will left over from last week, or is that over? It's just part of the soap opera?
It's part of the soap opera. It's L.A. It's La-La. It's Hollywood.
All right, and so I guess Hollywood will be okay. The Lakers become. By the way, Bill, who wins this series? I just have to throw that
Houston
out there again.
in 6. How many times I got to say it?
No, I want America to hear you say this.
Well, and he
all day long I've been saying it.
All right, the one thing you wanted to talk about is Yao Ming and his presence in the middle.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series matchup. Everybody in the country wants to see this matchup, not only today, but next year, the year after that, and the year after that. It's going to be a fun time.
Hold on, but why will it tilt in the Rockets' favor? What will Yao do to help?
Shaq's had his way in all these years in the playoffs. Now there's somebody big and strong like him that can match up. This is going to be fun to watch.
Greg?
I really can't even, I'm not going to even comment on that.
Steven comment on it.
I'm not going to do it either.
You can't rationalize with insanity. You really can't. This man he's having a brain fart.
I will say this. I will tell you one problem that Yao may have. I'm hearing that Yao doesn't like the focus being on him and Shaq, more of the team and everything else. When you're 7'5" and you're going against the most dominant force in the game, and you've elevated your game the way Yao has over the last year, so you've got to look forward to these matchups and look forward to embracing these challenges and like that individual matchup. I'm hearing he doesn't like that, and if that's the case, he still has, obviously he has
growing pains. There's no question about that.
It's enough growing pains where he's not going to win this series is what I'm trying to say.
I don't even think Bill Laimbeer believes they're going to win this series. I think he's saying that's just for TV.
Well, you know what? I apologize.
I'm not going to tell you what he's full of.
Why are you going to go put words in my mouth?
I'm not going to tell you what he's full of.
Bill, I made a mistake. I owe y'all an apology. I've been too diplomatic and too politically correct. Bill, you're full of it. You don't believe for 1 second that Houston is going to win this series.
I've told you all along the Lakers aren't going to win the series.
He hopes, but he doesn't believe it.
Yao Ming getting ready. Your guy, his first career playoff game. Let's not forget that. This is the first career playoff game for this young guy. He will be great one day, but this is early in his career. The game is coming up.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by The Day After Tomorrow, in theaters May 28th. Nissan, who invites you to ship the way you move through the world. Adidas Basketball, impossible is nothing. And TGI Fridays, who remind you to try their 9 delicious Atkins-approved menu items. Welcome to 20th Century Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
A festive atmosphere outside the Staples Center where the Los Angeles Lakers begin another postseason. Their first-round opponent, Yao Ming and the Houston Rockets. They battled 2 games apiece during the regular season, but this is different. This is the playoffs.
There's no better and no stronger than Shaquille O'Neal.
He's the most dominant force that ever played in the league.
Tonight, Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal go head-to-head again. But for the first time, it's in the playoffs. Yao has the Rockets returning to postseason play. But tonight, the Lakers begin their quest for another title. They're all out tonight here at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The celebrities arriving in droves for Game 1 of the best-of-7 opening round playoff series. It's the LA Lakers hosting the Houston Rockets. Of course, it's the number 2 and number 7 seed. San Antonio in the Western Conference already winning Game 1. The home team 3-0 so far on this first day of the 2004 NBA playoffs. Good evening, everyone. Along with Bill Walton, Mike Breen on hand, Jim Gray will join us shortly. It's been a season like no other for the LA Lakers. At times, they've exhibited absolute greatness, but at other times, they've been rather average. And the question, Bill Walton, can they be consistent enough in the postseason to contend for another championship?
Mike, this is the playoffs where legends and legacy are made. No time for foolish nonsense and self-inflicted wounds right here. The Lakers' mood is determined and focused. They have that nagging tendency to play to the level of the competition. They better bring it tonight.
Meanwhile, for the Rockets, for many of them, it's their first postseason appearance, including Yao Ming. He played Shaquille O'Neal so well during the regular season, but this is a different story. What does he have to do in this series?
Jeff Van Gundy just told us that Yao Ming's best is good enough. If the Rockets are going to win this series, Yao Ming's going to have to win a solid percentage of the big plays out there. Then Shaq, he will get his. This is one of the great playoff performers in NBA history. Shaq will have to be a cut above what he's been of late.
Take a look at our Bud Light starting lineups. As the Staples Center crowd fired up here for Game 1. And up front in the front court, there's their entire lineups with Stevie Francis, Cuttino Mobley, Jimmy Jackson. Kelvin Cato is going to play a huge part. And, of course, Yao Ming, O'Neal, Malone, Brian Payton, and the other guy, Rick Fox.
The health of the forwards for the Lakers. Fox with the bad thumb, Karl Malone with the bad ankle. But it all in the end comes down to the big man, Shaquille O'Neal. Men are made in the paint in this league. Who is going to stop the master?
A very experienced officiating crew on hand for this one. Steve Javie, Ronnie Garrettson, and Blaine Reichelt. Lakers, of course, have been so good at home. As O'Neal spinning, gets inside. Cato with the block. Another one from Cato. And out of bounds was Jimmy Jackson. So Laker ball, 8 on the shot clock as neither shot hit the rim.
What a tremendous start for Kelvin Cato, who has been in Jeff Van Gundy's doghouse for a week now since the debacle in Utah last weekend when Jeff Van Gundy said, Cato, you're on the bench. Right now, he's back in and making his mark immediately.
Cato, a very good help defender, as shown there. He's not only going to have to help Yao Ming defensively on Shaquille O'Neal, but he's also going to have to play him straight up. They're arguing now whether or not one of the shots hit the rim. Shot clock was not reset.
Not a good idea to argue with Steve Javie on the opening play of the game.
Payton getting inside. Good defense from Steve Francis. Shot clock winding down. Malone has to put it up. And good boxing out from Yao Ming.
That ankle will be the story for the Lakers. Karl Malone critically important, not only for his own contributions, but helping Shaquille as well. The Lakers short a big man.
For Malone, it's the right ankle. Of course, he had the knee problem earlier this season. Single coverage, Yao Ming and O'Neal. Up and under, gets it to Cato with 2 on the shot clock. Cato comes up short, and the Lakers come the other way. Lakers with 34-7 here on their home floor. Only the Dallas Mavericks had a better home record. Rockets, meanwhile, 18-23 on the road.
Phil Jackson has never lost a playoff series where he's had the home court advantage, which he does in this one.
O'Neal can't connect, and Francis, who's always been one of the better rebounding point guards, will need to help out in that department. Francis throws it away, and there lies the #1 problem for the Houston Rockets: turnovers. They were 28th during the regular season. Only Washington turned it over more times per game, and it's a problem for Francis. Meanwhile, let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, Mike. Well, there are a lot of injuries, as you guys have alluded to, particularly for Karl Malone, who has the ball right there. He's got the ankle sprain on his right ankle. He worked out a little bit this morning. It's heavily taped. He's already laboring a bit, but he's a tough guy, and he wants to be out there and to see how effective he is. For the Rockets, it's Mobley and Francis. Francis's right wrist is affecting his shooting, he told me before the game. And Coutinho Mobley, his left shoulder, it's affecting his shooting as well. Keep an eye on all these guys, plus Derek Fisher off the bench, got a real bad groin. Mike?
Jim, so many players are banged up, although Jeff Van Gundy told us before the game, if you don't have an injury at this point in the season, you didn't do your job.
On the Houston Rockets, I go right at Karl Malone.
Malone guarding Cato. Francis, excellent defense from Gary Payton. But last touch by Malone, so the Rockets get a new 24.
Karl is struggling. One of the most durable players in the history of the NBA. It has been a nightmare season. Field goals just atrocious. Both teams are struggling to find any sort of offensive rhythm.
Well, it is a little early. It's only 2:12 into the game. But 2 turnovers for the Rockets, and that's crucial. And that's where they run into so much trouble. Jackson stripped by Bryant. Ball somehow gets to Mobley. And Francis was out of bounds on the sideline when he caught the ball.
A lot of these guys haven't played much basketball of late. Francis, Mobley, Fox, Karl Malone. Rust very evident.
Karl Malone, as you see, tying his former teammate. 19 straight seasons in the playoffs. Of course, he injured that ankle on Wednesday early in the game against Portland in the last regular season game. They said there's no way he was going to miss.
But notice how they're just backing off 20 feet away from Karl Malone. That would never happen if he was healthy.
O'Neal powers in. And the Rockets will slow it down. Rockets, the Western Conference team that plays an Eastern Conference style. They like to slow it down. Good extra pass from Yao Ming. But Cato could not hit it.
2 opportunities for Kelvin inside. Easy misses. Nice pass, Payton.
Equally nice pass from O'Neal. 7-0. Jeff Van Gundy told us before the game the key for his team is going to be poise, especially after they take the first punch to the stomach. Well, they're starting to get hit a little bit early. How you react to that, because you know the team's going to come at you in waves. There's a lot to determine how you'll deal with the series.
Van Gundy wasn't talking strategy, he wasn't talking plays. He was talking personal character. He was talking resolve and how you're going to react in the face of the big bullies from Los Angeles.
Rockets 0 for 4 and 3 turnovers. O'Neal, quick move, and there's a foul. First one on Yao Ming. O'Neal will shoot 2.
Yao Ming trying to play the defense away from the ball. He's one of the best in the league at that, but with Shaq's ability to keep moving and getting that deep position, the way he works you down. And then when was the last time you saw Shaquille O'Neal ever have to turn and face somebody? That's how big, how talented, how skilled Yao Ming is.
Shaquille O'Neal, during the regular season, had one of his worst free throw shooting stretches this year. Shot 49%. That was his lowest in 7 years. That came after last year, where he shot a career-high 62%.
Well, the numbers have not been there for Shaq this year. This is the worst scoring average of his career at 21-7. Fewest assists of the last 5 years. You mentioned the horrendous free throw shooting.
You knew his points per game were going to go down a bit just because of Payton and Malone's presence. Stevie Francis trying to drive, and a bump is called on Kobe Bryant. Log on to NBA.com and play Virtual GM postseason edition. Pick your fantasy dream team and try to beat our guy, Mr. Walton. Score to be eligible for great prizes. Virtual GM postseason edition only on NBA.com. A 20-second timeout call. Now again, during the regular season, these 2 teams split their 4 meetings, and each team won a game on the other's court. And I think important for Houston, Bill, was how Yao Ming developed some confidence against Shaquille O'Neal.
Yao Ming plays his absolute best ball. If Yao Ming played as well against everybody else as he does against Shaq, he would be the MVP of the league, and they'd be in first place, the Houston Rockets. The Rockets won the first 2 games, the Lakers the last 2. Injuries played a major factor early on in the series. But we did those games, and with Yao Ming calling Shaq out, that was unbelievable in the early bit. The last meeting, though, Shaq, great defense, forcing Yao Ming into a miserable 3 for 15 shooting. They were awash on the boards.
Yao Ming earlier in the season had one of his best games of the year against Shaquille O'Neal. And the Rockets won the first 2. Lakers the second 2. Yao Ming getting inside. Excellent defense from Shaquille O'Neal. Francis with the left hand. Beautiful play from Steve Francis, and the Rockets finally get their first points.
And that is why you have to have somebody who Shaq has to guard if you're ever going to beat Los Angeles. Because with Carl limping out there, you have a chance on the offensive glass as Shaq is playing defense away from the boards.
Malone. And Jimmy Jackson the rebound. Jimmy Jackson, another player, a huge role in this series. He's been their most consistent player all season long.
And the Lakers have not gotten much out of the small forward position this season.
Good pass, and Yao Ming knocks it down. And the Rockets have kind of regained their footing after the rough couple of first minutes.
Yao Ming's the only player in today's game who makes Shaquille O'Neal look like a normal-sized human being.
He's also one of the few players that Shaquille O'Neal really gives his kudos to and compliments about his play. O'Neal not one to compliment his opponent and give credit very often, but he does to Yao Ming. That's a 2-pointer from Malone. Jimmy Jackson with a hand in his face.
Poor shot selection that time. Ball should be in the hands of Francis or Mobley. Jackson working off picks.
Kobe Bryant getting his teammates involved. Nice play from Gary Payton. Of course, that's one of the keys. Kobe Bryant can be so dominating with a shot, but he can be even more dangerous when he involves his teammates.
And Kobe's playing with a badly sprained left wrist. Got an extra pad on that than is normal.
Oh, beautiful pass from Yao Ming.
When you run your offense through the center, the guy who Shaq has to guard, then anything is possible because it exposes the weaknesses and flaws of Shaq's teammates on the defensive end.
Malone inside. Offensive foul. The Lakers screaming that he was in the restricted area. That would have been Yao Ming's second. Instead, it's a foul on Karl Malone. Phil Jackson disagrees.
Foul trouble will be critical. His foot on the line in the restricted area. That would seem to be a call against Yao Ming with a strict interpretation of the rules.
A break for the Rockets. It would have been a second. Instead, he still only has one.
You're watching the NBA playoffs on ESPN.
Mr. Ming is a very respectable young man, very nice young man. His parents, they always greet me when I come. He sent me letters before, and he's just real nice and doesn't really give me a chance to have an angry bone in my body about him. But when I watch you guys now, y'all try to pump it up, then I can get angry. So thank you.
Again, he doesn't compliment his opponent very often, but that's what Yao Ming brings out in people. He's such a respectful opponent. Terrific sportsmanship he exhibits, and Shaquille O'Neal responding to that.
So in other words, it's our fault.
Well, it's your fault in a lot of cases.
Maybe Yao Ming should learn from Shaq and just start blaming other people.
Let's bring in Jim Gray.
Well, Mike, it was interesting when I did that interview. He went on to say, Shaquille, that he disliked Patrick Ewing, he disliked Alonzo Mourning, disliked David Robinson, not off the court, but on the court. He said Hakeem Olajuwon he really liked. That's why he thinks Hakeem did so well. He says, I like Yao. It's hard to dislike him, as you just heard. That's probably in Shaquille's mind, he says. That's why he's done so well against him. He has to build something in his mind to make this a rivalry, Mike.
Meanwhile, Jim, Kobe Bryant just picked up his second foul. They tried to double team, and Bryant now has 2. Phil Jackson's going to put him on the bench. Kareem Rush quickly gets up.
But a real problem for the Houston Rockets right now is that Steve Francis has got 3 turnovers in the first 6.5 minutes. It's a guy who didn't play the last couple of games of the regular season at Seattle and at home against Dallas. Needs to tighten things up a little bit.
Still an area of concern for Jeff Van Gundy. Francis and his passing. And the second time that's happened where a Rocket caught the ball out on the sideline, but his foot was out of bounds.
You'd think with Van Gundy standing up over there, he might just push his guys and keep them in the court.
Well, getting back to Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal. Yao Ming has said that he's very tired in the last couple of weeks of the season, has not played well down the stretch. There's O'Neal again. Strong, quick move from Shaquille O'Neal.
Overpowering explosiveness right now. No hesitation at all. You can see the determination. Always a Phil Jackson trait. Get his legend off early at the beginning of a series. Set the tempo.
Boy, Rick Fox plays that pick and roll beautifully. Left-handed from Yao. Won't go. And O'Neal the rebound.
I'd put Kelvin Cato on Shaquille O'Neal for a couple of possessions here. Yao Ming's going to pick up a foul.
O'Neal somehow gets it to go in. Yao did a good job keeping his hands straight up.
Rockets have to capitalize here.
Oh, beautiful feed, and Cato able to finish.
Anytime Shaq goes to the floor, you have got to get up the court in transition. Beautiful recognition, Houston.
This is the type, which you said, Bill, with Cato, this is the type of play. Is Payton able to knock it down? When you have Shaquille O'Neal leaning on you when you're in the defensive post over and over, it really tires you out, and I think Jeff Van Gundy will switch them quite a bit.
Jack with 7 early points. Gary Payton doing the same thing. Matching that with 7.
Mobley. Yao makes his nice drive. Gets his own rebound. And able to put it in with a soft touch.
They're running that pick and roll, trying to capitalize on the fact that Shaq is not going to come out and guard anyone. But the Lakers on-ball defenders are sliding through that screen.
Of course, that's been the big area of consistency or inconsistency for the Lakers, is that their defense at times just hasn't been very good this season.
Mike, this is not a young team. This is not a team that's going to come out and constantly outwork you.
Malone off the mark. Certainly, Gary Payton's not the same defensive player he used to be, but Malone missing those 39 games had a lot to do with that. Karl Malone, such a terrific defender, as Mobley knocks it down.
But you play basketball with your legs. You've got a knee on one side, an ankle on the other. This is not good. That high pick and roll, effective again. Rockets right back into it.
4-point Laker lead, just over 3 minutes remaining here in the first.
The repost, this is where guys really get in trouble defensively.
O'Neal somehow gets it off, but unable to finish. Jackson able to regain it.
Whoa.
Cato running the floor, and again, poor transition defense from the Lakers.
The Rockets are not a good fast-breaking team. Right? Their offensive numbers as a whole are right at the bottom of the league.
And the Rockets are in the playoffs because of their defense. Rick Fox, another of the banged-up Laker team. Payton has been strong early. That one halfway down. O'Neal misses the dunk. And a foul. Let's see who they call it on. Is it Cato or is it Yao? Steve Javie giving the signal.
Yao Ming.
Second foul on Yao Ming. Rockets would have been benefited more if O'Neal dunked the first one.
This is where he just wears you out. The offensive rebounds, the deep post position, but the footwork as well. Quickly, reverse pivoting and exploding before the defense can get set, and then the strength of Shaquille O'Neal working his way all the way down. Every time the Rockets come back, it's all Shaq.
You're watching the 2004 NBA Playoffs on ESPN.
Kobe Bryant on the bench with 2 fouls, although the Lakers lead by 4. But he does have 3 assists, getting his teammates involved. Of course, the reason the Lakers are the 2nd seed in the playoffs was because their last regular season game, end of regulation in Portland, he ties the game. And then Kobe Bryant with just a spectacular shot at the end of the 2nd overtime with a big hand in his face. The Lakers win the game. They're the number 2 seed, and Shaquille O'Neal can only tip his cap.
Cookie just set a pick, give me the ball, and we going home. And when he throw it up, it kind of looked off, but that thing hit all draws. That thing hit all draws. So you got to put him up there with some of the greatest, because very confident guy, and whatever he says he's going to do, he does it.
In one of the most bizarre weeks in the history of this Laker franchise.
Of course, you look, starting with that game in Sacramento where Kobe was accused of not shooting deliberately, of trying to make a point, the fact that the team complained he was shooting too much, and showing, okay, I'll show you I won't shoot. He hardly shot at all in the Sacramento game. But O'Neal, off the missed free throw, draws another foul.
Where is the box out? Complete breakdown. Yao Ming sitting on the bench because of the 2 fouls. You're coming out of a timeout with one of the league's worst free throw shooters, and you're not going to step somebody in front of him at the line? What are they thinking?
Again, a key there on the free throw. The players along the lane, they can go in on the lane on the release of the free throw shooter, but the player who shoots the free throw has to wait until it hits the rim. That's why it's so difficult. You rarely see it, but O'Neal did wait. It's not like he committed any kind of lane violation there. Meanwhile, he's 1 of 4 from the free throw line. But to finish on Kobe Bryant and what he was talking about in that Sacramento game, he said, hey, Sacramento just did an excellent job. They double teamed me every time I had the ball, and I tried to get my teammates involved, which is what he's doing tonight.
Well, you can say that, but there's been other times when he's been double and triple teamed and shot every time.
And that's all part of the soap opera, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers this season.
Nice flash by Cato.
Cato makes a nice move, but just flips it up there.
Shaq has come to play tonight.
O'Neal leading the break, which is what happens when O'Neal tries to do that. Shot would have counted, but Francis can't get it to go down. Steve Francis will go to the line and shoot 2.
But we're seeing from Shaquille O'Neal tonight the same thing we saw the last time these two teams played here. And Shaq realizes that he just can't come out and overpower Yao Ming. He actually has to play basketball. He's moving. He's rebounding. He's igniting fast breaks. Nice roar of appreciation from the crowd.
10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And the first quarter's not even done yet. Dominance early for Shaquille O'Neal.
But when you go back and look at the numbers of Shaquille O'Neal in the first game of every series that he's played under with Phil Jackson, you're talking about 35+ points per game. Now, granted, he's only averaging 21 points per game this year.
And just as importantly, O'Neal's first quarter, you got Yao Ming with 2 fouls. Offensive rebound on another missed free throw. And Jackson, that's a 2-pointer for Jimmy Jackson. A veteran who is sometimes accused of the other Rockets players of being Jeff Van Gundy's the teacher's pet. Van Gundy loves his professionalism. Now he comes hard to work every practice, every game. Plays hard at both ends of the floor. Malone. And a foul on Maurice Taylor. Only the 14th foul. A reminder, on TNT tomorrow at 7 Eastern, the Hornets and the Heat from Miami. Jeff Van Gundy's brother, of course, Stan Van Gundy. And then 9:30 Eastern, it's the #1 seed, the Minnesota Timberwolves, hosting the Denver Nuggets as Clarence Weatherspoon checks in. Maurice Taylor picks up his 2nd foul, and Cato sits down.
A couple of emerging stars in those tomorrow evening's games. You got Lamar Odom for Miami, and then Carmelo Anthony, their first playoff experiences. That'll be something to watch.
Well, for Steve Francis, this is his first playoff experience. Francis with 3 turnovers very early in the game. Payton misfires, but Medvedenko the rebound.
The experience factor is an incredible disparity. You have to feel bad for Rick. It's been a tough year health-wise, and that thumb certainly not right.
Another. That's 4 turnovers for Steve Francis.
And they haven't been just misses. These things have been wild pitches.
The Houston Rockets, again, a much improved team. They're back in the playoffs after missing 5 years. They're a terrific defensive team, but they are a poor passing team. Average nearly 17 turnovers a game.
And what makes that all the more galling is the fact that Yao Ming is such an outstanding passer. And if they ran things more through him, it would be so much easier. Can Houston capitalize with Shaq and Kobe on the bench?
Fox did not expect the pass, and the Lakers turned it over, meanwhile, for the 4th time. Yao Ming playing the first 10 minutes before sitting down with the 2 fouls. Rockets right there, though.
Golden opportunity. Go 2 for 1. Quicken the pace a bit if you're the Rockets now. You've got the physical superiority.
Mobley, another poor decision and another turnover. 6 turnovers here in the first quarter. And Maurice Taylor has now picked up his 3rd foul. Taylor's done that in just 2 minutes of action.
And they've been mindless, senseless turnovers.
And Taylor's a key player for them because the Rockets are a team that struggles to score. And Taylor's a scoring player off the bench. Adjustment time for Jeff Van Gundy as Scott Padgett comes in.
Jeff Van Gundy has only faced Phil Jackson 1 time in the NBA playoffs.
But of course faced him quite a bit throughout the years. The Knicks and the Bulls, the big rivalry during the 90s where Van Gundy and Jackson often jawed at each other through the press. Jeff Van Gundy once calling Phil Jackson Big Chief Triangle. Phil Jackson once referring to the former Knicks coach as Gumby.
But that's not the first time Phil Jackson has gotten into it with other coaches. Right. Riley was a regular villain. Rick Adelman, Jeff Van Gundy, of course.
But despite all of the different battles they've had over the years, Jeff Van Gundy telling us again, and I've heard him say this several times before the game, he has so much respect for Phil Jackson, what he's accomplished, and the way he handles his team, how his team plays, how he handles superstar players.
How can you not? This guy's got 9 world championships as a coach, 2 as a player.
Mobley. Bettino Mobley and Steve Francis have played well against the Lakers this season. Mobley's been solid. And the lead is only 2 as the shot clock is turned off.
This has got to be a great boost of confidence for the Rockets to play this poorly and just be down 2. Yao Ming with 2 fouls.
If you weren't paying attention to the scoreboard, you'd think the Rockets were down big. Ball knocked loose. Jimmy Jackson looks up at the clock. Francis. Mobley just gets it off in time. And it won't go.
Houston's the 2nd best 3-point shooting team in the league. And they're going to have to knock down those opportunities.
Yao Ming, quick foul trouble. The key number for him, 2 personals. For Shaquille O'Neal, a dominant 10 minutes. In addition to the 10 points and the 6 rebounds. But for the Rockets, despite 6 turnovers, they shoot 47% from the field. And after 1, Rockets only down by 2 here in Los Angeles.
You're watching 20th Century Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
First quarter complete in Los Angeles. Rockets only down by 2. It's not their offense that gets it done for them. And as you see some of the numbers, again, 2nd to last in turnovers. Only the Wizards turned it over more. And, of course, they're not a fast break team, dead last in the NBA. Turnovers have been their key problem offensively.
And very wild, out-of-control type of turnovers. The silly fouls, passes way behind somebody who has no one to blame, but the guy throwing those passes, Coach Wooden always used to say, I know we're going to have turnovers, but I want turnovers out of commission, not out of omission. These guys have got a long way to go.
They had 6 turnovers in the first quarter, but the reason they're only down 2 is how hard they get at you defensively. Lakers shot just 38% from the field. And that's where the Rockets excel. Only the San Antonio Spurs had a better field goal percentage defense number this season.
But Kobe Bryant's got 2 fouls and no shot attempt. That has a major impact as well.
Lance Weatherspoon shooting over O'Neal.
You are not going to make a more difficult shot attempt against Shaq. Come to a dead stop, pump fake, let him come on you, and then throw one up.
Well, so after jumping out to an 8-0 lead, the Rockets have come back to tie it up. Padgett knocks it away. And last touch by Scott Padgett, so the Lakers get a new 24.
Derek Fisher with that shot. One of the really banged up Los Angeles Lakers right now, playing with a severely injured groin. Can barely walk out there.
And he's key because he's such a good defensive player. And Payton has had some trouble with Steve Francis off the dribble. As Medvedenko misses. Lakers have now missed their last 5 from the field.
How come with Weatherspoon guarding Shaq and giving up 8 inches, they can't get the ball to Shaq?
Weatherspoon is one of those guys that no matter who he guards, he makes it difficult. He's such a smart, experienced defender. He's so strong. Francis. Nice tip in from Mobley. Francis obviously got hit in that double team. Stopped momentarily, and nobody tried to get the ball away from him. The Rockets have their first lead of the game.
He was certainly traveling, but referees gladly are letting both teams play.
What a foul. And Kobe Bryant will go to the line for 2 after taking his first field goal attempt.
Francis gets down into the lane here. Shuffles his feet quite a bit. Pick a pivot foot. Obviously getting hit in the face, waiting for the whistle, not hearing it, just throws it up there.
Well, the reason the extra step was because they were trying to grab onto the ball. As we mentioned, a very experienced officiating crew. What the NBA does with the officiating crew now, there are 59 full-time officials. 35 of them, that's Blaine Reichelt, 35 of them, that's Ron Garrettson, advanced, and that's Steve Javie, to the postseason. And they do that, they figure out which 35 based on their evaluations and how high they're rated during the regular season. And with each round, it gets cut down. Javie, meanwhile, considered by many to be the very best. You see Mark Jackson in the game, the veteran backup point guard. He's one of the best. Witherspoon. Shot clock winding down. Mobley. And Shaquille O'Neal with his 7th rebound.
Rockets are not getting good shots. Fortunately, they've been able to get on the offensive glass when Shaq has been drawn away from the hoop.
Well, that happens a lot with the Rockets, again, especially with Yao Ming on the bench. And Witherspoon on his post defense call for the foul.
Perfect execution of the triangle offense. Bring the ball up one side, have Shaq establish the deep position. Nothing Spoon can do about it. Shaq is wearing you down.
That's Witherspoon acquired at the end of December in a trade from the Knicks for Moochie Norris, and he's helped out. Always a good defensive player.
The Knicks played well today.
Knicks losing game 1 in New Jersey. All the home teams winning. Medvedenko. That's what he does best.
Tremendous ball mover. Kobe Bryant caught in the air. Alkenberg jacked that one up. Medvedenko, after missing his first, comes right back.
He's found a real nice niche with this team this year, boy.
Medvedenko is a fine player. Nice touch with the ball. Hard worker on the defensive end. Good position rebounder.
Shot clock winding down again. Good defense from the Lakers. Jackson. Ball tipped. Kareem got a piece of it. Well, a 24-second violation.
You keep talking about Houston's defense. It's the Laker defense that's forcing the Rockets into just deplorable shot attempts.
And that's the point about the Lakers. When they won their 3 titles in a row, it was their defense that was a huge part of it. They always played such good defense. This season, though, so inconsistent on the defensive end. Nice hand, Scott Padgett. And then he gets fouled by Medvedenko on the outlet pass. Of course, with the Lakers, another postseason for them, with the Rockets, as we said, many guys in it for the first time. Now, that doesn't count Horace Grant in all his playoff games. Grant, because of his injury, not on the playoff roster, but more than any other team. Meanwhile, for the Houston Rockets, you saw their playoff number. Mark Jackson has 126 of them. He has more playoff games than the rest of the team combined. So it's a very inexperienced postseason squad. And there's another turnover. 8 already for the Houston Rockets.
Quick hands and loose balls, all in favor of the Lakers. The Rockets are lucky to be this close.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by Coors Light. Unleash the Rocky Mountain cold taste of Coors Light. And Kia Motors. Kia, make every mile count.
This update brought to you by Taco Bell. Kevin Frazier in the studio. We look ahead to Sunday's games on ESPN, ABC, and TNT. Things kick off with the Bucks and Pistons, and we'll be there for the halftime of that game. And then the Mavs and Kings kick it off. And don't miss GMAC Hang Time on ABC at 3 Eastern.
Kevin, here in L.A., it's the Lakers with a 2-point lead. Just over 3 minutes gone by in the second with Bill Walton, Mike Breen on hand. Jim Gray, of course, with us as well in game 1. And you see the numbers in the key one for the Rockets. Field goal percentage for the Lakers, under 40%.
Kobe's very quiet after the last couple of games where he had 45 and 37 against Golden State and Portland, respectively. Lakers have 5 turnovers going along with that 38% field goal percentage. Rockets sadly only have 2 points off those 5 turnovers.
And there's why Weatherspoon's in the game, despite the huge advantage in height and size. He's just a smart post defender, and he pokes that away from Shaquille O'Neal. Devin George, Luke Walton in the game. Did you give your son any advice on his first playoff game in the NBA?
Well, to have fun, have a great time, and keep passing it to Shaquille O'Neal.
Walton, a popular player here in LA. Always the chance when he touches the ball. Well, as we said at the top, Jeff Van Gundy talked about being able to take the first punch. Rockets handle that first punch extremely well. Mark Jackson left open as Payton fell down. And Jackson, with all his playoff experience, ties the game at 24.
Even though Mark Jackson's 39 years old, he can still play. Earlier this week on Monday night in Seattle, he had 25 points in 39 minutes.
The thing about Jackson is his strength is the Rockets' biggest weakness, passing.
What a pass.
O'Neal with the left hand and goes falling to the floor.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Was that really a pass? They count it as a field goal attempt. I'm sorry, Bill. Mark Jackson draws the foul as Gary Payton picks up his first.
Shaq is just moving at a much different pace, rhythm, and with a greater level of intensity than any other big man in this entire game.
Shot clock winding down. Jackson makes his move, finds Jimmy Jackson, just gets it off in time, and that one halfway down. And here comes Bryant.
Nice hands, Devin George poking that out. They're going to need a lot from Devin in this series.
George spotting up for 3. It's not been an easy year for Devin George. He has struggled at times, but it's a big 3. And puts the Lakers up by 5.
You make it happen on the defensive end, Devin George. You poke the rebound away, up in transition. Kobe Bryant getting everybody involved. Players who can knock down 3-pointers. You have to have it when you play with great stars that require double teaming by the opposition.
Kobe Bryant doesn't have a field goal yet. And we're over 5 minutes gone by here in the second. But he does have 5 assists. And here in the second period, Lakers back up by 5.
You're watching the 2004.
On here at the Staples Center, Della Reese, Denzel Washington, Leonardo DiCaprio, plenty more celebrities on hand for Game 1, including Andre Agassi, who's with our Jim Gray.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Andre Agassi, he's won 8 Grand Slams. He won the Australian Open last year. Playing in the French Open, he won the French Open in 1999. Of course, that can be seen right here on ESPN next month, May 24th. How are your preparations coming for the clay courts?
Well, I'm feeling good. As you get older, you change a few things. I'm not playing a lot of the clay, but I'm training hard and getting ready to, hopefully have a few good things happen.
You'll be 34 at the end of the month. How are you managing to still compete and stay on top of this game? Because it's such a young person's sport.
Well, the simple answer is I don't know. But the bit of the longer answer is, you got to train smarter, you got to train harder, and, you just got to hope you stay healthy. And then so far, I feel great. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the great year, having a great year.
Andre, you're a Laker fan. Why the fascination to them? You live in Las Vegas.
Well, yeah. Well, I've grown really as a fan because my Perry, who I've been best friends with since I was 11 years old, manages Shaq, and he's just such an. I'm so inspired to watch him play, and to be down here for the first time it's bigger than life for me.
This the first time you've seen a Laker game?
First time here on the floor, that's for sure.
Andre, we look forward to seeing you play tennis. You've given us a lot of thrills.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, back to you, Mike.
Jim, thank you. 24-second violation. I want to know why he's had such a heavy turtleneck on. It's Los Angeles.
It rained here this morning. In the afternoon, you can see the Buffalo on Catalina. But Andre Agassi is the true testament to what physical fitness will do, the way he has made it in his career at this point. What a fantastic competitor.
Pretty good testament as well. Karl Malone, another older competitor, shall we say, as is this man bringing the ball up, Gary Payton. Payton, who just the other day, hasn't been an easy season for Payton, or so he says. His walk, nice pass. George couldn't handle it, and it's going to go the other way. But even Peyton said the other day that he doesn't really feel comfortable yet. And here it is, the playoffs. And well, let's go and listen to a recent Rocket Hunter.
Just talk to me. I'm talking to you. That's how let it go. Cat, let it go. Come on, man. Let's go. This is mental boys right here. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody just calm down. We're all in.
That's, of course, a young playoff team.
That is a team in disarray over there. When everybody's yelling and screaming, and Jeff Van Gundy has to say, hey, guys, what about our poise? Let's calm down and stick together. We're into the second quarter, halfway through.
So Mark Jackson saying the same thing. Another turnover. Walton. Left hand won't go. It's okay with you that I call him by his last name? It's fine. Just check. Midway through the second, Lakers lead by 5, but the Rockets have made it tough, and that's not a surprise, because even Phil Jackson told us before the game, this is going to be a hard series. They play physical, they set tough, mean picks.
The elements that Phil Jackson was talking about were consistency, defend the team, and get the pick and roll over the team. Nice pass, Peyton.
14 points for Shaquille O'Neal. They lead back to 7.
Van Gundy can't believe it. He's just irate. Things falling apart for Houston right now. How are they going to respond? Nice defense by Kobe Bryant.
Off of Bryant's leg. Bryant wanted it off Yao Ming's leg, but Blaine Reichelt says no.
Teamwork, ball movement, execution, and the unstoppable force. This spin, no one in the history of basketball has ever been able to make that type of play on a consistent basis. The other big guys, Wilt, Kareem, they're always coming to that ball.
Weatherspoon. Yao keeps it alive. Nice feet inside. And Weatherspoon got hammered from behind by that fellow Walton. That's his first.
Well, every time that Yao Ming has the ball, the Rockets have had a play at the offensive glass. Houston needs to learn to get it to him earlier, up at the foul line, mid-post area. Shaq will then have to guard him. And then guys like Weatherspoon, Maurice Taylor, Kelvin Cato, Jim Jackson, Patino Mobley, and Francis can have their way on the offensive glass.
Rockets now 0 for 3 from the free throw line. And when talking about Yao Ming, you said this at the top, Bill, that Jeff Van Gundy does not need Yao Ming to outplay Shaquille O'Neal. He says you can't expect a second-year player to win a matchup against one of the game's all-time greats. But they do need him to be consistent because they don't have enough firepower offensively to withstand an off night from Yao Ming offensively.
But the difference in styles, the ball movement for the Lakers, they have 12 hoops and 11 assists with that. Kobe, what a split.
Peyton. And Mobley. That's the key. Mobley and Francis, good rebounding guards for the Rockets.
The Houston Rockets have 12 baskets and only 6 assists. It's all individual. And that's why when they try to pass, they turn the ball over yet again.
They're one of the worst in that department. We continue with the poor passing, 11 turnovers. We still have over 4.5 minutes remaining in the second.
But Mike, this Rocket team is basically a bunch of gunners who have always been individual players. Francis, Mobley, Jim Jackson, Maurice Taylor. Now they're trying to play a team game under Van Gundy, and it's not working.
Francis the foul. I don't think I called Jim Jackson a gunner.
No, his game is not coming off screens. His game is to have the ball in his hand, back guys down, create for himself.
Meanwhile, Mobley goes to the bench. Post John, not far back in. Jackson, of course, has become such an instrumental part of the Rockets. He's bounced around throughout the NBA. This is his 10th NBA team. Played for 9 teams in 7 years. Was traded 5 times as Peyton hits the first free throw. But he did play for Jeff Van Gundy's brother in Miami when Stan Van Gundy was an assistant to Pat Riley. And Jeff Van Gundy called his brother. Brother gave him a high recommendation. Rick Adelman raved about him as well. In Sacramento, Jimmy Jackson wanted to stay. He wanted to play with the Kings. But in terms of salary cap, trying to find spots, they didn't have enough room for him. And there's a foul on Shaquille O'Neal. That will be O'Neal's first.
Now that's the way you feed the post. Throw it high and hard right at their face. The one time here tonight that Shaq didn't prepare himself defensively, just allowed Yao Ming to get the position that he wanted. In the 314 million television households in China that get NBA programming, they're ecstatic with that play.
Jeff Van Gundy said that Yao Ming needs to know his role in terms of he's a leader now on this team. He's looked upon, and the idea is him saying at the end of the season he was tired. He says, you might be tired, but you can't say it. Great players can't say that. They can't show weakness. As the instruction continues every day for Yao Ming. Oh, what a left hand from Gary Payton.
Karl Malone's passing ability to hit the cutters down the lane, even from the wing facing the basket.
They're passing in general. The terrific passing from the Lakers and the poor passing from the Rockets.
Nice quick ball movement by Devin George.
Malone. Francis. Stolen. And a ball out of bounds. A backcourt violation. Steve Jabby comes crashing into our broadcast location. Hopefully he's okay. Kobe Bryant going for it. It is a contact game. Oh boy, Bill.
The construction skills on full display. Really one of the strong parts of my game.
But after that other steal, a backcourt violation, so the Rockets will get it back.
I like the effort on the defensive end by the Lakers tonight, particularly Kobe Bryant. He doesn't have much going offensively.
The last time we spent several days in L.A. was late March when they played Minnesota and Sacramento back-to-back games where they annihilated both teams, and the defensive effort was superb. And that's when the Lakers are almost unbeatable. Francis just flips it up, Yao Ming on the foul.
And it was after those two games where they destroyed the Kings and the Timberwolves. That's when the Lakers went into a nosedive.
But again, despite all the positives for the Lakers, Kobe Bryant's 5 assists, the team's 12 assists on 13 field goals, they still only have a 6-point lead with 3.5 to play in the second.
Setting that high screen time and time again, get to the hoop. When Shaq has to guard the ball, it's always there on the offensive glass. That's why you have to attack him.
Shaquille O'Neal with 14, Yao Ming with 8 points and 6 rebounds. The Lakers with a 6-point advantage.
This is the 2004 NBA Playoffs on ESPN. Welcome back to the 2004 NBA Playoffs on ESPN.
We are just moments away from the Toyota halftime show, coming to you live from Times Square, and we'll see if another home team can get a big win in the first game of the playoffs. Bill, so far, Lakers look okay.
They're playing good defense, but Houston's just throwing the ball all over the gym. Too many turnovers.
Well, part of that is because, again, they've never experienced how physical the playoffs are. Fouls that typically are called during the regular season are not called during the playoffs.
Houston looks bad, and the game is still close. Anything can happen.
So are you saying you think that Houston can win this game?
I didn't say that. I said anything can happen.
I got no problem
We'll
saying
see you guys in a few minutes on the halftime show.
Gentlemen, thank you. Here in L.A., it's the Lakers with a 6-point lead, 3.5 remaining in the second period. Rockets hanging tough despite 13 first-half turnovers.
Well, they have a +7 rebounding edge, but it's completely negated by 13 turnovers.
Karl Malone can't connect. They have done a good job on the boards. They're also, Rockets, one of the better three-point shooting teams in the league, number 3 in percentage, yet they're 0 for 2. Francis fires away.
That's called face.
Interesting roll on that ball. And look at this. It's a 3-point game. Hard to believe, Bill.
Well, because Houston's played awful. Yao Ming's in foul trouble. Shaq is dominating him.
They played awful and run into the floor. They have played very well defensively. Shot clock down to 6. Mobley's done a good job on Kobe Bryant. Yao Ming trying to help out. Bryant. It's almost like you expect those to go in every time. The more difficult the shot, the more you expect it to go down.
You've got to be kidding me. You might think that somebody was open.
That's only the second shot attempt. The first one wasn't an official shot attempt because he got fouled. As Mobley misfires. But he hasn't even looked to shoot the ball.
Kobe's playing good defense tonight.
Yep.
He's very disciplined, even though he's got the 2 early fouls.
Malone gets it deep. And a ball stolen. Good help defense. Jimmy Jackson. And Jackson can't get it to fall. Devin George with a good rebound. 2 minutes to play, first half, Lakers by 5.
Come back through Shaq right now. Keep him lathered up. This ball movement,
Cato got there a little too late. And Shaquille O'Neal says thank you to Karl Malone.
Nice eye contact and exchange from Shaq to Karl Malone. How easy it would be to play with Shaquille O'Neal.
Francis, good hard drive from Steve Francis. That is his #1 strength, his ability to get into the paint. The Rockets stay with the man. They do not play zone defense. Kobe Bryant inside to O'Neal, and a foul. Cato hit him. And Kelvin Cato will pick up the personal. That's his first.
The ball movement for the Lakers, who have an astronomical percentage of assists per basket in this game. And then Shaq just moving ever so effortlessly. Nobody putting any sort of body or resistance, and Karl Malone putting the ball right on the mark.
Malone, of course, missed the 39 games. Is Gary Payton going back?
He'll be fine. He's the only guy that played in all the games. He's the only starter that played in all the games.
All 82. Payton said something interesting the other day as O'Neal misses. Said it yesterday, actually, that he'll do whatever Karl Malone does next year. They can both opt out of their contracts. He says if Malone re-signs with the Lakers, I'll probably re-sign with the Lakers. If Malone moves on to another team, I'm going to move on to that same team. They've developed a real nice friendship.
Just off the mark, Shaq.
He's now 2 of 7 from the line.
Why are they talking about that stuff now?
Now you're right, and that's been part of all the distractions this year. And that next season, so much is up in the air.
Next season is an eternity away.
Francis. Cato keeps it alive, but Bryant knocks it out of bounds. Blaine Reichelt looking for help, and they say it's Rockets ball.
Perfect example of just how limited Karl is right now with the injuries. In a perfect world, he'd be out there just grabbing and snatching that rebound. You have Shaq on one side, Karl on the other. How are you ever going to get to the offensive glass?
Jeff Van Gundy takes out Yao Ming with 56 seconds to make sure he doesn't pick up his 3rd foul. Weatherspoon comes in. Final minute here of the first half. Rockets, as they do quite often, have played some ugly basketball, but some superb defense that have kept them in this game. Cato lost it. Lakers have the numbers.
Worst of all possible worlds for the Houston Rockets here.
That time a bad pass from Derek Fisher.
Imagine what a three-pointer would have done right there when Yao Ming goes to the bench. Somebody knocks down a bomb from behind the arc, and they're right there down 2.
Right now only down by 5. Yao Ming with 8 points, 6 rebounds, and the 2 fouls. There you see the turnovers. Always a problem for the Rockets.
Great defense, Kobe Bryant.
Mobley stripped by Bryant. And then a foul on Cato. That won't be a clear path foul. Francis was ahead of him. But for the Houston Rockets, they're in the penalty, so free throws coming up anyway. Kobe Bryant will shoot 2.
It's been a tough evening for Kelvin Cato.
That's his 2nd foul.
Finally worked his way back into the lineup at all after sitting out every game since the Utah fiasco.
But he's been active, Bill. He had a couple of blocked shots. He's made them work on the other end. He's played some good defense.
Never mistake activity for achievement, though. This is a guy who averaged 8 rebounds a game in November and 4 in March. That's not the kind of curve and graph that you want.
His numbers went down pretty much every month. Jeff Van Gundy says, I want him just to play defense, rebound, and block some shots. The other stuff is gravy. Padgett is going to come in, and Cato will sit down. As Van Gundy will go for a final offensive substitution. Well, free throw shooting has been rather poor. Lakers 7 of 14. Now they're 2nd and last in the league, mainly because of O'Neal. But the Rockets just 3 of 6. 50% free throw shooting combined.
But with the different playoff format now, the quick start from the end of the regular season, these guys aren't used to that sort of rhythm.
About a half-second difference between the shot and game clock as we wind down the 2nd period. Malone picks up Francis on the switch. Shot clock at 3. Francis finds Jackson. Does he get it off in time? Yes, but it won't go. And there's the buzzer ending the first half.
Did you see how hard Karl Malone worked on that one possession? That's what being a professional basketball player is all about.
Yao Ming early foul trouble. Karl Malone
on two bad legs and out there outworking everybody.
So 2 quarters complete here in Los Angeles. Lakers jumped out to an 8-point lead. Rockets came back, went up by 2 at one point, and now it's a 6-point advantage. Let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Kobe with 5 points. First of all, Gary Payton walked off the court with about 1:10 left. Do you know what happened to him?
No, I don't.
You guys have right now a 6-point lead, Kobe. How have you managed to allow Houston to remain in this game with all the turnovers that they've had in poor play?
Well, I think we're just kind of filling them out right now. You know, we had them in a point where we had them down 9 points or something like that, 10 points, and you know we couldn't quite close the door. It's going to happen sometimes in the first game of a playoff series. So we just got to filling them out a little bit, see if we can't put them away.
You guys are a little off yourselves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, obviously we're a little off. I mean, you know, we have to try to work within our offensive system a little bit more. I think we're doing a pretty good job, actually, getting out in transition. Hopefully we just do it a little bit better.
Kobe, thank you. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Mike.
Jim Kobe Bryant, high assist man with 5. Coming up on the Toyota halftime show. Home teams won them all earlier today. Pacers over the Celtics. Nets defeating the Knicks. Spurs knocking off the Grizzlies. Kevin Frazier, Bill Laimbeer, Stephen A. Smith, and Greg Anthony will talk about it all. Plus some of the first half. Yao Ming and the Rockets. The Rockets have not been in the playoffs in 5 years. But they're here now, game 1 on the road. And despite some turnover problems, they're hanging tough. Halftime in L.A. It's the Lakers with a 6-point lead in game 1.
Welcome to the Toyota Halftime Show.
Yao Ming with 8 points, 6 rebounds in the first half, but dealing with the daddy at the other end. It's been a tussle for Yao and the Rockets. 40-34 Lakers lead. It is amazing the amount of foot traffic in Times Square at this hour of the night, but it is the place to be. Our McDonald's NBA brackets hanging out in Times Square, and there is the Lawrence O'Brien Trophy. That's what everybody's playing for. You know, for the last 6 days, the talk of all of LA, as a matter of fact, for the NBA nation has been, did Kobe Bryant try and teach his teammates a lesson by only taking 1 shot last Sunday against Sacramento? Well, he only has 1 field goal attempt right now, and maybe some of us who thought it was a conspiracy, maybe we have to back off, because I was one of the folks out there who thought he did it on purpose. I'll be honest.
Well, I don't think it applies in this particular situation. First of all, he got into early foul trouble, number 1. Number 2, both Gary Payton and Shaquille O'Neal were flowing. And number 3, and most importantly, it wasn't on the heels of some controversy brewing inside of the Lakers locker room where you had guys questioning the amount of shots he had jacked up the previous 3 games. These are a different set of circumstances tonight, and it's perfectly understandable why he's only attempted 1 shot tonight.
I don't agree with that. I think it's no different, really, from the last game. The guy's taking 1 shot because, again, he's trying to make sure other people get involved. Obviously, the foul trouble will have an impact on it, but it's about trying to win basketball games. And for me, to ever question guys with that kind of ability who've shown that much fight in them and competitiveness, I think is kind of absurd.
Well, I don't care if he takes 1 or 30 shots. I want to take my shoe.
34 to go.
I want to take my shoe like every other Houston fan and throw it through the TV. Stop the turnovers already, Steve Francis and the Rockets.
It was, you know, it is very interesting that he has just 1 attempt. And for a guy like me, I thought, I'm telling you, when I watched the Sacramento game, I was like, he's not taking shots. But, I
commend you.
I'm sure that we will hear from Kobe after this game. I know he'll have something to say. We fast break through the highlights of the games earlier on Saturday. And, boy, New Jersey out and running and rolling against the Knicks, Bill.
Oh, yeah. You know, the Knicks, you know, they just didn't show up today. Stephon Marbury, where was he for most of this game?
Well, Stephon Marbury struggled in the second half. Meanwhile, at the end of the first half, Brian Scalabrine with 13 assists for Jason Kidd, 62-55, and that was as close as the Knicks got. Greg.
Well, the theme has been set throughout the day that the top teams have shown why they are the top teams. They all came out and made a statement in terms of dominating on their home floor. The Nets no different.
14, 13, and 5 for Jason Kidd. Stephon Marbury, meanwhile, no points, no assists in the second half. What happened, Steve?
Knicks didn't show up. Stephon Marbury, 0.0 assists in the second half. They didn't get back on transition defense. They were completely awful today. They embarrassed themselves against their, you know, rivals. Yeah, that's what you want to call it, even though the Nets have dominated them for the past 3 years.
No kidding. Game 1 of our quadruple header, Boston and Indiana, and Jermaine O'Neal, after the bucket, throws to the floor. Here's a guy who has to keep his head no matter what throughout the playoffs, Steve.
Well, that's what this is all about. We all know that Jermaine O'Neal is a stellar player. We also know that he has a temper. He has to watch out because a guy, you know, when you got a guy that puts him in that position to basically set him up to get thrown out of a game, a guy that's far inferior to you talent-wise, you know what? You got to watch yourself.
Ron Artest, a big game. Artest, 24.6 rebounds and 5 assists. And Greg, Indiana looked great.
They look great. They're the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. In my mind, they won 61 games, yet they get no respect.
Well, they deserve the respect after
they
that.
get all the respect in the world. Come on.
They've won
Unless they're playing the Pistons.
They've won 61 games. They get all the respect in the world. We just don't believe they're going to beat Detroit. That's all.
You know who's earning a little? You know who's earning a little respect tonight? Shaquille O'Neal. Lakers lead 40-34.
This halftime show is presented by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. Welcome back to the Toyota Halftime Show.
Gary Payton, 11 points in the first half, but the concern has to be that he headed to the locker room a little early before his teammates. What is ailing the glove? We'll find out hopefully soon. 40-34 your score. Here's a peek at Sunday's schedule. 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Bucks and Pistons will be there for the halftime. Then the party starts on ABC with GMC Hang Time. And then we close it out with a doubleheader on TNT. More playoff basketball. If you love the NBA, it's another great day. All right, a third game of our quadruple header was Memphis and San Antonio, and it really was San Antonio versus themselves, basically, because this was another blowout game. Memphis trying to stay close. Shane Battier, the 3. It was a 10-point cushion there, but then Bruce Bowen and the Spurs just on the run, Bill.
Well, yeah, they have a better team. You can see with this game right now. You know, Memphis is inexperienced in the playoffs, didn't know what to do.
And Tim Duncan, the better player, Stephen A.
This would be true, but it also helped him that Powell got so strong, Miles Swift, and all those big boys did not show up.
They don't show up. Is Memphis in trouble, Greg?
No, I think it's a learning process. When you first get in the playoffs, you're not really accustomed to how physical the game is. It'll be interesting to see the adjustments that Hubie Brown and his team makes.
It'll be very interesting to see the adjustments the Lakers make in the second half to see if Kobe Bryant starts to heist, starts to take more shots than one.
Is he tanking this game, you think, with the one shot?
Well, I'm not saying that.
This halftime show is presented by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. Welcome back to the 2004 NBA playoffs on ESPN.
Third quarter set to begin in Los Angeles. Yao Ming and the Houston Rockets down by 6 here in game 1 of this best-of-7 playoff series. Some of the numbers, Rockets and Lakers both playing pretty good defense. Rockets doing an excellent job on the boards, although, again, those turnovers have really hurt the Houston Rockets. That's always been one of their key problems. Right now, let's go to Jim Gray with Jeff Van Gundy.
Mike, thank you. Gary Payton has a hyperextended lower back. He got treatment during halftime. He will try and play here in the second half. With Jeff Van Gundy. Jeff, your team had 15 turnovers, and that's no recipe to win. What happened?
Well, we were throwing that ball all over the place, but we're trying like heck, and we're going to try to play a little bit more sound on offense and keep competing on defense and on the board.
Jeff, there was one timeout in the second quarter where everybody was hollering and screaming at one another. What was going on there?
Oh, that was nothing. They were just, you know, they're trying to compete hard, and we just got to show, you know, good poise and resolve and stay in there, and you know, we'll be fine.
Jeff, thank you. Good luck in the second half. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Jim. You know, I covered Jeff Van Gundy for all 7 years. He was head coach with the New York Knicks. I've never seen him that happy at the halftime of a game.
Especially when he's losing and nobody's playing well at all. The two guys who are doing it in this game have been Gary Payton and then Shaquille O'Neal. Those guys have been delivering on the offensive end, and Shaquille has been playing at a level that Yao Ming has not been able to match. What are the Houston Rockets going to do about it? Yao Ming has 2 fouls. Shaq just has the 1. Karl Malone 1 for 9, limping badly on the legs.
Kobe Bryant, meanwhile, only 5 points. You see, 1 of 1 from the field. He had 2 quick fouls, so he sat for a while, but he leads the team in assists with 5. He's done an excellent job distributing the ball. Yao Ming, quick shot.
Wow. Now that's a statement play. Come right out.
He's in double figures with 10, 4 of 8 from the field.
Because you're talking to Shaquille O'Neal, a guy who's on one of the great playoff roles of all time. 18 straight games of 20-plus points, 10-plus rebounds.
Mobley. And Yao couldn't hold on, so the Lakers will get the ball. Lakers, by the way, 10 turnovers of their own as we go back to Jim Gray.
Mike, at halftime, I spoke to Kobe Bryant, and I informed him he'd only taken 1 shot. He said he was totally unaware of it, started to laugh. He said, well, here we go again. Mike?
Well, he did take another shot, but he got fouled on it, so it doesn't count in the box score. But he has done an excellent job finding his teammates. So O'Neal's short as Yao Ming just put the hands straight up.
And on the 2 possessions of this half, Yao Ming has looked better than any play in the entire first half.
Francis, that's a bad shot.
What is he doing?
His decision making is still something that needs improvement. He's such a talented athlete, but he still needs to learn to be a better basketball player. Kobe Bryant, not much of a better shot there. And Yao Ming does a good job. Francis throws it ahead to Mobley. Wisely on a 1-on-2 says no.
Bring it out, get it to Yao Ming.
Mobley dribbles it off his foot. Francis has 5 turnovers. Mobley has 5 turnovers. And they're your guards that are supposed to take care of the basketball.
Yao Ming meeting Shaq as he's trying to establish position. And that's a good move there against Shaq, trying to face guard and keep off the offensive glass.
That seems like fun. I mean, how'd you just have this guy hound you all game long? As Jeff Van Gundy said, he is a special specimen, talking about Shaquille O'Neal. Malone continues to struggle from the field. Karl Malone just 1 of 10. And nobody's hitting shots here to start the 3rd quarter. Teams are combined 1 for 8.
But Karl is playing on an ankle that nobody else in the entire league would even be out there.
Yep, you're right. Francis lost it out of bounds, deflected, so it's still going to be Rockets ball with 6 on the shot clock. You talk to Kim Turner, one of the good guys in the NBA, has been the PR man in Utah Jazz for years. He'll tell you more Karl Malone stories about playing hurt, one right after another. One time where he dislocated his finger, made the trainer put the finger back in the locker room, went back out and played. That sounds pretty tough, right? It was a preseason game, and he still wanted to do it and go back out. There's just so many examples of that. Francis has to put that one up as the shot clock is winding down.
Perfect example in this game as to why practice is important. Nice drive by Payton.
Can't finish, however. O'Neal can hold on. And Yao with the save.
Decision making for the Rockets has to improve radically.
Cato and a foul. A rare poor defensive play from Rick Fox. And Cato with a chance for a 3-point play. Fox picks up his first.
But one of the things that's happening in this 3rd quarter, Mike, is that Yao Ming is making his presence felt on the glass. So that's allowing Houston to get out in transition. Cato, a nice strong finish there and earning a trip to the line.
Kelvin Cato, now in his 7th year in the league, 5 years with Houston. He's an author. Some children's books, including one called Hoop, H-O-O-P, which stands for Help Out Other People. Very diversified young man. Playing tough, helping out his Rockets here tonight as they're back within 2.
They continue to back off Karl Malone.
Nice feed from Fox. And Malone just his 2nd field goal, but it gives the Lakers a 4-point lead.
That small forward position for the Lakers absolutely critical to keep that ball moving. Rick Fox, one of the best in the league at it. Oh, double dribble.
No, I don't think he actually touched it. Cato steps back. Off the deflection, here comes Payton. Payton with that back, as Jim Gray reported. Had a very strong first half. Malone inside, good help defense from Yao Ming.
How about Yao Ming in the set offense here? They come to him for the first play of the quarter, and he scores, and they never come back to him.
Francis off the mark. Francis now 3 of 9 from the field. Lakers, meanwhile, have missed 7 of their first 8. And despite the poor shooting from Houston, they're still within 4.
They've narrowed the gap. Great execution there. Karl Malone, nice screen for Shaq.
O'Neal banged knees with Cato on that play. Mobley inside, and it's back to a 2-point game. Tino Mobley with 8 points. Jeff Van Gundy's Rockets hanging tough here in game 1 on the road. Bryant with big Yao Ming in his face. O'Neal pushed off to get that rebound. That's his second personal.
That's a tough shot by Kobe. He comes off that screen and they step out. He's got to look for Shaq rolling down the lane.
Absolutely, but also credit Kelvin Cato as Mobley makes a nice move here.
How about on that play for Kelvin for Tino Mobley? Throw it off the board and let Yao Ming smash it home the way Jason Kidd did for Kenyon Martin this morning.
Yao Ming took it right out of his hand. That's where he needs to be. Yao Ming needs to be more assertive. Stronger move, you draw a foul on that. Bryant finding O'Neal. That one looked above the cylinder. Francis.
It was quick out of his hands, though.
Phil Jackson thought it was. And this time, Karl Malone takes it out of his hands. Francis dives on him. Good hustle from both players. And Ronnie Garrettson wisely quickly gets in between the two as they'll have a jump ball.
You talk about the block shot by Yao Ming.
As Phil Jackson said, Houston Rockets are a tough team. They set hard picks. They play physical defense. They're up to the physical challenge of the Lakers here in game 1.
Well, that's one thing you have to do is you can't come in here and be intimidated, be pushed around, because this Laker team is definitely a front-running squad. They come out, they try to intimidate you, try to psychologically terrorize you. And they've got the players who can do that. Shaq, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton, the coach, Phil Jackson.
So they'll jump at the Rockets free throw line circle.
And when that all fails, then Jack Nicholson takes over and does his job.
I don't know what the delay is right now. Now look at him, be Francis and Malone. Francis looking like he wants to win the tip. He's ready to sprint. Malone stopped it. He tried to trick him, didn't jump at first. Steve Jolly just laughs.
If you're the Lakers, go through shot, try to get a third foul on Yao Ming.
And there's a foul, whether it's on Cato or Yao Ming, we'll see. It's before the shot. Yao Ming does pick up his third. Let's take a look again back at that block shot that he had. Yao Ming is taken away.
Yao Ming is not a skyhook, one-legged shooter, a la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the greatest scorer in the history of the NBA. You got to come in with your little Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin McHale jump hook, which is much more Yao Ming's game.
Now, on that last replay, there's a lot of contact on that, but the officials have done a good job of letting the physical play happen.
Kelvin Cato now switched over to Shaq.
Bryant on the double team. Shot clock at 2. Payton for 3. And Jim Jackson with a rebound. Jackson very quiet offensively.
Big problem, though, is that Yao Ming has 3 fouls.
Jackson, meanwhile, with his 8th rebound.
Against Shaq, you tend to pick up a lot of fouls late.
Francis. Oh, nice left-handed spin from Steve Francis, and the Rockets have tied the game once again. All there by as many as 8.
All the pressure is on Kelvin Cato defensively. Lakers are going to take a timeout. Rarely do you see that.
Phil Jackson wants to talk it over. Steve Francis has turned the ball over quite a bit, but makes a beautiful play here. And Francis and his teammates continue to play stellar defense. Here in this third period, the Lakers have taken 11 shots. They've missed 10. We're midway through the period, and it's all even in game 1. Just past the midway point, third quarter at the Staples Center. Lakers and Rockets all even. As a battle of the two big centers in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming. Yao Ming was in a little foul trouble early. Coming on now. O'Neal had the huge first half. Tough to play against those two guys. Not only tough to play against them, it's tough to officiate in games with those two. As Steve Javi acknowledged with Phil Jackson.
I got a 7'5" giant in the middle with another 7'6" guy, and now I've got to watch feet. It's a tough play, okay? I'll try to give you a look. It's a tough play.
I thought Phil never complained to the refs. I thought that was beneath him.
Oh, no, I think he likes to chat. Steve Javi in his 18th year in the NBA.
Great flash by Shaq.
They're double teaming Shaquille O'Neal now every time he touches it in the low post. There's Jackson going to help. Cato's on him individually. Fox can't hit.
That's a great idea. I mean, why would you let Shaq shoot? He's the guy who's playing the best.
Especially the way the Lakers are shooting from the perimeter right now. 33% for the game. They're 1 of 12 here in this third period.
Rick Fox is playing with a dislocated right thumb. Make him shoot every time.
Mobley off the mark. Cato, who's getting a lot of good things done here in the third period.
Responding to the challenge. And his defense will be critical if the Rockets are going to pull off this major upset.
Lakers have 2 points here in this third period. We've played almost 7 minutes. Francis blocked by Payton. Cato tries to save it, but he stepped out of bounds. And it's going to be Laker ball.
The decision-making by Steve Francis continues to leave a lot to be desired.
Good help defense from Yao. And Payton wanted a bump. But that's the kind of play they've let go all game long. There's been no ticky-tack fouls in this one called.
Good.
You've always been in favor of that.
Only when there's guys who are trying to abuse the rules. But we have seen none of that in tonight's game.
Also, you have the more experienced, the better officials in the postseason. Francis with another turnover. 6 turnovers for Steve Francis.
He's jumping in the air, throwing wild passes, ill-advised shots. Caught in the lane a lot for the Lakers. Rick doesn't want to shoot it.
And the drought continues. Lakers have not scored since the 9-minute mark. It's been almost 5 minutes without a point. Again, only 2 the entire period. As Jimmy Jackson off the mark.
And there's Horace Grant up and down that sideline over there, acting like he's one of the coaches. Exhorting all of his teammates.
Crowd a bit stunned right now with the way this game has turned. Rockets almost daring him to shoot from the outside. Now Payton. Bryant for 3. And the drought ends. Over 5 minutes without a point. Kobe Bryant puts the Lakers back up by 3. Jim Jackson.
Potatoes everywhere.
Cato having a solid game. Ball tipped in by Jackson.
That looked like it was clearly in the center. Are they giving him a 3 or are they giving the tip in to Jackson?
Well, they put the wrong score up on the board. Now say it 2. They say it's a tip in. Offensive foul as Karl Malone barrels into Cato. Now Cato may have been in the restricted area, but Malone started in the lower defensive box. So Malone picks up the personal. That's his second.
Grimaces of dismay here.
See, now you'll see his heel is in the restricted area, but it's negated because Karl Malone started the offensive play in what's called the lower defensive box down there in the paint, and that's a good call.
But this is not good. Shaq, you see the grimacing on the face, and with Gary Vitti over the top of him, they're looking at Shaq's right knee over there, and that's been bothering him of late. He looks not a good sign.
You know, he banged it earlier in the period, you saw, with Kelvin Cato.
Shaq is really in pain on that bench right now.
Maurice Taylor. Oh, he aimed that shot. Taylor scores in 3 minutes. He picked up 3 fouls in his first 2 minutes of the game, and he's sat since. Now he comes back in.
What word would you use to describe the shooting here? Rancid?
Less than stellar. And a foul. That shot won't count. Cuttino Mobley bumped him beforehand. It's only the second team foul.
With all the bizarreness of this week around Kobe Bryant, right now, this crowd at Staples Center is chanting, Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. And that's the story right there, though. Will Shaq be able to continue?
Gary Vitti, the hardest working man in the NBA this past week with all the different injuries he's had.
The back of Kelvin Cato against Shaq's knee. I mean, so many guys have been hurt this way. You can only hope that he's going to be okay.
We'll check on O'Neal when we return. Lakers lead is just 1.
Tonight on SportsCenter, NBA playoffs tip-off. Already anything but kid stuff. Barry goes deep, A-Rod goes down, Kerry goes crazy. Doomsday for many on the playoff hunt. After the game, SportsCenter on ESPN.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers. Sprite and Thirst, reminding you to obey your thirst. And GMC, we are professional grade.
Just over 2.5 remaining, third quarter of game 1 here at the Staples Center. And the Lakers with just a 1-point lead. Shaquille O'Neal and his knee a little banged up in a play earlier. Right now, time for our GMC game track.
The turnovers have plagued Houston as well as the Lakers, but certainly the Rockets, who have not ever been able to get into any sort of consistent offensive flow. But with Shaquille O'Neal, 16 points and 11 big rebounds, they have to have him at the top of his game and healthy, playing the big defensive stopper. That's the 7th block by Yao Ming of Shaquille O'Neal in the 2 years since they've been playing against each other.
He doesn't have a shot block very often.
No. Nobody else has more than 4 over that same 2-year period.
Yao Ming on the bench, and O'Neal, as you see, back in the game. Shot clock down to 7. Mobley has done a good job on Bryant. By the way, you know, the turnover numbers for Houston, a big reason why they're only down 1. Yes, they had the 15 in the first half. Only 3 here in the third quarter.
But the third quarter score here is 10-5 Houston. It's an offensive explosion.
And again, the chance of Kobe. Kobe, who tries to please. Not that time. O'Neal backs it a couple of times, and Jimmy Jackson with a beautiful play. Francis. And just like that, the Houston Rockets take the lead.
This is going to come down to rebounding if Houston is going to be able to win. Maurice Taylor very lucky that time. Kelvin, Cato, and Taylor have got to get to work.
Rockets plus 10 in the rebounding department, Bill. It's an area they really needed to get better on than the last time these two teams met in the regular season. Ball knocked loose. Another turnover. No, it's Laker ball. Ronnie Garrettson explaining it to the players before he pointed in the right direction, much to the chagrin of Jeff Van Gundy.
Well, there's very little playoff experience on this Rocket team. Maurice Taylor certainly has a lot of experience in this building all those years with the Clippers.
Lakers, meanwhile, with as many turnovers in the third quarter as they have points. 5 in both departments. Shot clock at 3. Oh, what a play from Mobley. Stepped out of bounds. Did he have possession? Yes, they said he had possession, so the Lakers will get a new 24.
It appeared as if Kobe Bryant switches his pivot foot here. Cuttino clearly has possession.
Now, if he just would have dropped the ball, it would have been a 24-second violation.
A lot of standing around by the Lakers.
Medvedenko. Who can rebound? George kept it alive, but Francis comes up with it. Lakers now 2 for 16 here in the third quarter from the field.
Bill Jackson very animated on that Laker bench. Surprising.
Taylor. Nice pass. Good adjustment, and Jackson can't hit it. Francis the rebound, and wisely brings it out. He's tripped up. Only the third team foul against the Lakers, so the Rockets will take it out of bounds. Medvedenko picks up his second.
Phil Jackson's team normally dominate the boards. Year after year with Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and Cartwright, Tony Kukoc. Now with Shaq, Karl Malone, Robert Horry all those years. Right now, they're getting pounded on the glass.
He's up to plus 12. Jimmy Jackson has got 10 rebounds in the game.
Maurice Taylor should be able to go right at Slava Medvedenko here.
Mailer trying to get free. Draws the foul. Shot won't go as Medvedenko picks up his third. And Maurice Taylor will go to the line. Taylor during the regular season averaging 11.5 points per game. He has not scored yet here tonight.
And he's a critical factor because for major stretches of this season, he was carrying the load off the bench and was given serious consideration for sixth man of the year, along with Manu Ginobili, Al Harrington, Antoine Jamerson, but really dropped precipitously in the waning months of the regular season.
I like when you use big words.
What, months?
Meanwhile, that's only the 8th, and this only the 9th free throw attempt by the Rockets. They're 5 of 9. Lakers, meanwhile, 8 of 15, so poor free throw shooting from both. And right now, largest lead of the game for the Rockets. A 3-point advantage with a minute to play in the third. Bryant gets Mobley away with a little head fake. And Kobe Bryant with just his third field goal.
You have to play disciplined defense against a player like Kobe Bryant.
Easier said than done now.
Yes, but make him beat you with the spectacular. Don't bail him out.
Francis holds timeout. And he fell down. Lakers don't like the call.
Lakers have not liked much of anything here in the third quarter.
So a 20-second timeout called by Jeff Van Gundy, or by Francis, and Van Gundy keep it to a 20 with 41.5 seconds remaining in the third. And the Rockets leading by 1. It's game 1 for the Lakers, and they're having a tough time on their home floor. Well, that young lady very happy, but Phil Jackson certainly not happy with his Lakers here in the third period. Only 7 points here in the third quarter for the Lakers. Reminder on TNT tomorrow, a doubleheader, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hornets and Heat, game 1 from Miami of that series. And then the West's #1 seed, the Timberwolves, hosting the Nuggets, 9:30 Eastern time.
11 on the shot clock right here. Rockets have to go quickly and quit turning the ball over.
They've done a better job here in the third. Taylor's shot won't go. O'Neal the rebound. 12 rebounds for Shaquille O'Neal.
Rockets have 19 turnovers. Lakers only have 11 points on them out of those turnovers. The Lakers haven't scored on the last 6 Houston turnovers, though.
Credit that to transition defense.
Nice pass.
Shaquille O'Neal with a pretty feed. Medvedenko finishes, and the Lakers back up by 1.
The timing of the double team. You can't just make it automatic. Shaquille is too good, too willing of a passer.
Shot clock turned off. Final shot of the period. Francis gets in. Jimmy Jackson makes his move. Jackson, hard drive. Won't go. Taylor the rebound. Count it and 1. Mo Taylor with a chance for a 3-point play as the Rockets regain the lead. Medvedenko, his 4th foul.
Give the Rockets all kinds of credit. Lakers came out and started this game trying to bully him out of this gym here. They had the big start. The Rockets recovered. They fell apart in the second quarter. Right now, they are the aggressors. They're the ones who are pushing the Lakers around underneath the basket.
Yeah, that's Taylor's first field goal. Again, he's one of their double-figure scorers. Finally gets that field goal, but credit Jimmy Jackson. He drove 3 Laker defenders towards him as he made that penetration. And Taylor was open for the offensive rebound.
Well, you just flabbergasted by the fact that the Lakers have come out with such a low level of intensity and excitement here. The rebound get pounded by this team when Shaq's having a good rebounding game.
But this has been the Lakers this season. There are some nights we said earlier that they've been absolutely exhibiting greatness, and other nights they're just very average. 3-point play converted by Mo Taylor. Bryant, that'll count if it goes.
That's not going.
I wouldn't put anything past him. And that ends the third quarter. And what a defensive quarter for the Houston Rockets. Lakers scored just 9 points in the period, 4 of 21 from the field.
Welcome back to 20th Century Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
Day one of the 2004 NBA playoffs. The first 3 games, the home team won easily. The 4th game, a different story. Lakers down 2 as we start the 4th quarter. Of course, all the history here in Los Angeles. So many retired numbers, including number 32, who's with our Jim Gray.
A Hall of Famer, Irvin Magic Johnson. Irvin, you've been in an awful lot of playoff games, so you recognize it. Does this look like the playoffs to you?
Well, it's ugly. I think that both teams are being physical and everything. It's just poor shooting on both sides, but the defense has been excellent. But there's no flow and no rhythm to the game. And also, this is Houston's pace. They're making it their game, and the Lakers going to have to wake up, because if they don't, they're going to get beat tonight.
You're talking about waking up. Bill Walton has said throughout the game there seems to be a lack of intensity. Do you notice that in the Lakers?
I think he's right. You know, there's no fire. I was just telling Diane Cannon the same thing. I felt there was no fire. It's not like a playoff intensity that you're supposed to have to get ready to try to win a championship. And you know this team can beat you too, so you have to get up for Houston because of Yao Ming. And then Steve Francis is doing a good job of penetrating and getting shots for himself and his teammates.
Magic, I know we're a long way away from this, but you know what it's like to be upset by this team as a lower seed on that miracle shot. I believe it was 83 by Ralph Sampson. I mean, do you see visions of this possibly happening?
Well, this organization, Houston, beat me twice. You know, when Malone, as well as Moses, I'm sorry, as well as Ralph Sampson. So I've been on the losing end twice to them. And if you steal that first game, you put yourself in a position to have the momentum going into the series. I think it's always important to try to get the first game, but this is a strange game. I'm more intense and I'm sweating more than the players are. Man.
Magic, thank you very much. We look forward to your commentary on TNT throughout the week in the playoffs.
You got it, Jim. Good to see you. What's up, Bill?
How are you, Magic? I think you should get out there and start playing yourself. You talk about pace. You talk about championship performance.
I'm ready to go.
We put Magic out there and take care of business.
Yao Ming way off the mark.
But those 2 years that Magic and Lakers lost, 81 and 86, Moses Malone and Ralph Sampson, the back set volleyball shot.
Karl Malone. And the Lakers regain the lead. Last time the Rockets were in the playoffs was 1999. They lost in the first round to the Lakers. It's 4 years absence, and now they're back in the postseason and making the most of game 1.
This is the 7th time these two franchises have met in the playoffs, each team winning 3.
Mobley, again, a good adjustment. Cuttino Mobley puts the Rockets back up 1.
But if you're talking history, the Rockets have to take care of business today. Phil Jackson has never lost a playoff series where they won the first game.
See Kareem Rush just come into the game for the Lakers. Left-handed, won't go. I tell you what, Cuttino Mobley has done an excellent job making Kobe Bryant work. Bryant now 3 of 10 from the field.
I'm one of those guys that thinks that the defense has no impact whatsoever on Kobe Bryant.
He's played them very well. He can overcome terrific defense, certainly. We've seen that countless times. There's Mo Taylor, second effort. He thought he got fouled. He looked like he got hit.
But this is the playoffs, Mike. They're not going to call anything unless it's absolutely going to determine the outcome of the play.
But he hung tough. Second effort. And the Rockets back up by 3.
That's a tough shot there.
And a good tip. Malone couldn't get his hand on it. Derek Fisher. How many big threes has Derek Fisher hit for the Lakers in the postseason?
Derek Fisher shot a career low 35% from the field this year.
There's a big adjustment here from Derek Fisher, going from a starter to backing up Payton. Mobley trying to draw some contact. And then, with his frustration, commits the foul afterwards.
This is where the poise and the experience comes in that Jeff Van Gundy is begging for, and Phil Jackson knows his squad has got a full abundance of.
Jeff Van Gundy's team with strong defense, and you see that's what they do best. Second in the NBA behind the Spurs in field goal percentage defense. They do an excellent job in the paint defending. Their transition defense is good. It's tough to get fast break points on them. And this has been a perfect illustration of how tough defensively they are. Kareem Rush. Big throw for Kareem Rush.
That's what Van Gundy was talking about, is the crowd coming to life right now. What do you do when you have Shaq on the weak side and Karl Malone and Kareem Rush and Kobe Bryant on the strong side? How do you defend that?
Jimmy Jackson's been quiet offensively. Misfires badly on that one. He's 3 for 14 from the field.
Kobe can go right by Mark Jackson.
O'Neal lost it. Tell you what, the Rockets' help defense has just been superb.
Capitalized while Shaq is late to get back because he was tied up with Yao Ming.
Maurice Taylor again. Taylor coming alive here in this fourth quarter. He now has 9 points for the game.
He's going straight at Karl Malone. Karl Malone, one of the great defenders in the history of the NBA. Not a vertical defender, but down low in position and great footwork.
Bryant. Kobe Bryant with 12.
You see him coming back up the court, tugging on that left wrist. Heavily taped with the black tape just below the wristband.
This game has been close throughout. As Derek Fisher a little over aggressive.
Didn't you just say there were no ticky-tack fouls called in this game?
That's what Derek Fisher is right now saying to Steve Javie as Fisher picks up his first.
When you can go head-to-head against the other team's best defensive player down low, Maurice Taylor just calling for the ball and rising above the crowd. Even the great Karl Malone can't do anything about it, but Kobe Bryant comes right back, utilizing that pick and roll with Shaq on the weak side. No defenders can come and help. Yao Ming caught in no man's land.
And you see Kobe Bryant coming alive. Lakers had 9 points in the third period. They already have 11 here in the fourth.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by The Day After Tomorrow, in theaters May 28th. Coors Light, unleash the Rocky Mountain cold taste of Coors Light. And Wendy's new Chicken Temptations. It's better here.
Big day of basketball on Saturday, but there were other news and notes to get to. Diana Taurasi, the first overall pick in the 2004 WNBA draft. She stopped by the studio to visit us. Freddie Adu becomes the youngest player to score an MLS goal. The 14-year-old did it in a losing effort before 30,000 in New Jersey. And Stephen A. Smith has confirmed the Bloomberg report that LeBron James will be named Rookie of the Year. Let's go back out to Mike.
Kevin, thank you very much. Lakers leading by 3. Just over 4 minutes gone by here in the fourth. Jeff Van Gundy says the Lakers have what he calls overwhelming talent. They've got 4 future Hall of Famers. Gary Payton, Karl Malone, the new guys, of course, so much playoff experience. And then Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal with the championship rings. It's pretty impressive when your third and fourth player, Karl Malone, your third best player, is a future Hall of Famer who's the second all-time leading scorer. Gary Payton, who's your maybe fourth best player, is one of the top assist and steals men of all time. Not a bad roster.
In their time, they were all individually franchise-level players. Yao Ming hit on the wrist there, no call.
And it's going to be Rockets ball. Blaine Reichelt, the official along the baseline, didn't see it. He asked for help. Monty Garrettson said it's Rockets.
Well, when you talk about the Big Four, that's what's made this season so maddeningly frustrating for Laker fans. And you talk to these folks who have been here. I've been coming to these games for 34 years now.
They missed that ball, by the way.
And the fans here have never been more frustrated, more disappointed in what's going on this season.
Well, the Big Four only played together 39 games because of the various injuries. The record when they played together, not bad. 30-9 when all 4 played during the regular season. Of course, they get off to that unbelievable start. They were 18-3 when Malone's knee injury started things. And some of the other issues during the course of the year. But they still won 56 games. Offensive foul, Yao Ming, a moving screen. Arguing the call, that's his 4th. And that's also the 21st turnover for the Houston Rockets.
And Van Gundy's got some real decisions to make over on that sideline. He's got Maurice Taylor who's scoring, but who's going to get rebounds?
Elvin Cato played well.
He set the initial screen well, but then he started moving too soon. A very tough call.
And a foul away from the ball. It's going to go against Steve Francis.
One of the reasons that the Rockets are right in this game is that they're pounding the Lakers on the board. They're plus 12 there. In the paint, the Rockets are plus 14 over the Los Angeles Lakers. That's championship level basketball on the road. Can they get back on top of the scoreboard?
Bryant. Good defense again from Mobley. Bryant trying to get him up in the air, eludes him, and it won't go down. Yao Ming with his 10th rebound. Mobley has really made him work. Francis somehow gets the ball back, flips it up. Oh, what a play from Steve Francis. He wanted a foul, but O'Neal just stood there. Jeff Van Gundy screaming at Blaine Reichelt. He's got to be careful. In a close game like this, you don't want to get a technical. Now Ming close to getting his 5th foul there. Rush for 3. Kareem Rush with his 2nd three-pointer. And the Lakers back up by 4. Rockets can't get the ball in balance. Derek Fisher doing a fine job on Francis. Poise for the Rockets, critical down the stretch. And here's where playoff experience really comes into play. Jackson knocks it down. Jimmy Jackson has played on a lot of losing teams in his career. Had some playoff experience in Portland last year in Sacramento. And now with the Houston Rockets.
I think we found the rhythm that Magic Johnson was pleading for.
Midway through the 4th. Bryant. Again, Mobley knocks it out of bounds. And we'll have a timeout. Just past the midway point of the 4th quarter, the Houston Rockets making Kobe Bryant and the Lakers work for everything they get. And a couple of spectacular plays. That has been an easy night for Francis, but that was a beauty. Playoffs always bring about some unsung heroes. Kareem Rush, some key three-pointers here down the stretch. Now with 5:52 remaining 4th quarter, Lakers clinging to a 2-point lead in game 1.
Welcome back to the 2004 NBA playoffs on ESPN.
Largest lead by either team has been 8. That was the Lakers. Now it's a 2-point advantage, just under 6 to play. Steve Francis, you see the 7 turnovers, but Steve Francis makes our Sprite mad skills with a spectacular play here.
Who can bring the peak performance on command? Steve Francis, who has struggled in the turnover department, lost that ball literally 3 times. His remarkable athleticism enables him to get right back in the circus-type shots. Even Shaquille O'Neal did not stop him. That's our Sprite mad skills of the night from Staples Center.
That move was almost his 8th, 9th, and 10th turnover in the game. Instead, he turns it into a 2-point play. And now it's the Lakers who will inbound with 6 left on the 24. Still plenty of time to go as Phil Jackson relaxes in game 1. O'Neal calling for the ball. Malone couldn't get it to him.
3-point shooting for the Lakers.
Rush. And O'Neal with the offensive rebound does a little hop step and is called for travel. Good call.
Yeah,
how do you argue that?
Shaquille O'Neal, 13 rebounds per game, career playoff average. Go along with his 28 points per game. Jack, upset as can be. He is pointing out Reichelt, Gerritsen, and Javi. Get to Yao Ming quickly here.
Mobley has hit some tough buckets. Not that time. And look at Carmelo trying to track it down. Last touch by Francis. Laker ball. Carmelo with the bad ankle coming back from the knee and still the first guy to dive on the floor. Plus he's 40 years old.
What's not to love about Karl Malone? Only that body would just hold up a little bit longer.
Yeah, I can only see him playing another 10 or 11 years. Bryant again gets Mobley away, but can't hit the shot. However, the ball deflected and a new 24. Kobe Bryant forcing the action on the last two.
Oakley's done an admirable job defensively, but he's gambling so much.
Jackson spots up, nails the three. Jimmy Jackson from downtown. And the Rockets back up by one.
And finally, something goes down from behind the arc for the Rockets. They're now 2 for 10 on the night.
Steve Francis was just like waving on the crowd. Fisher is fouled. I think he realizes he's in Los Angeles. So Fisher will shoot 2. Jimmy Jackson just 5 of 16 from the field, but he has 11 rebounds. And that's a huge three-pointer. Only the second three-pointer for the Houston Rockets. They're a good three-point shooting team. 3rd in the NBA, but they're just 2 of 10 tonight.
But they've dominated the paint area against Los Angeles. Remember, the Rockets are the second best team in the entire NBA at defending that paint. But it's the Lakers who have been dynamic from behind the three-point line. 6 for 14.
Fisher getting some minutes. Of course, Payton injured his back near the end of the second quarter.
Yeah, but this is where Gary Payton does not like to be taken out of the game. He's let Phil Jackson know during the course of the year, and he doesn't appreciate that.
Mobley. Good defense from Rush, but a reach-in foul called. The Lakers only their second team foul, so they'll take it out of bounds. Foul goes against Rush, and that's his second. Chance of defense here at the Staples Center. Jackson. Yao Ming can only get his fingertips on it.
You want to get as much separation of that small forward position as you can if you're playing against the Lakers. Carl just did not want to shoot the ball at all.
Well, he's missed 10 of his 13 shots here tonight. Bryant makes his moves. Can't finish, and a blocking foul in the restricted area is the call there. As Mo Taylor tried to draw the charge, so Bryant will shoot 2 as Taylor picks up his 5th foul.
That's a great call here by the referee. Maurice Taylor is way down in that lane.
Well, can't see on that replay.
He's literally underneath the basket. To try to get charges on a guy like Kobe Bryant, once he's left the ground, you're helpless. It's like trying to do that against Dr. J or Michael Jordan.
You see Kobe Bryant's numbers. Mobley has made it tough for him. 2-point Laker lead, just under 4 to play. Both teams have been successful in close games. Especially the Lakers. They're 14-5 in games decided by 3 points or less. Right now, they lead by 3.
Yeah, but now the Lakers defense is dug in. Where are the Rockets going to get any sort of offense?
Francis draws the foul. Karl Malone with his 3rd.
Because it's not as if the Rockets run plays. They basically just go one-on-one a lot. Tough way to beat the Lakers.
Reminder, beginning Monday, tune in to NBA TV playoff show Destination Finals. That's every weeknight on NBA TV. Francis with 13 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds, 7 turnovers. And kind of a feast or famine game for Francis, but with just under 4 minutes remaining here in the 4th, his team only down by 2. Lakers jumped out to an 8-0 lead. But the Rockets handled that initial playoff punch, and their defense has kept them in the game. They've battled and battled. They've led by as many as 3. And right now, trail by 1.
Going to have to be Francis and Yao Ming on the offensive end and somebody on the board if the Rockets going to hope to win this critical first game.
Course, best of 7 now in the first round of the NBA playoffs, which started last year. Shot clock winding down. Mobley not going for the fakes this time. And there's a foul.
He played him so well. So disciplined. So concentrated. And then at the very end, he just hacked down.
3 fouls on Mobley. Cuttino Mobley, a former 2nd-round pick back in '98. Really, defense-first attitude got him into the league, got him into playing. He's become a scorer, averaged 1 year almost 22 a game. But for a second-round pick who now can score in high double figures and play tough defense, still sometimes tends to take wild shots as Peyton comes back in the game. Well, Mobley's done a strong job for Jeff Van Gundy here tonight. And the Rockets want time.
But to beat the Lakers, you have to outthink them, and mental breakdowns like that just won't get it done.
So far, the Rockets have been tough. 3.5 to play in the fourth. They're only down 2.
Tonight on SportsCenter, NBA playoffs tip-off. Already anything but kid stuff. Barry goes deep, A-Rod goes down, Carey goes crazy. Doomsday for many on the playoff hunt. After the game, SportsCenter on ESPN.
Quadruple header, Boston Blue got blown by Indiana 104-88. Then in New Jersey did in New York 107-83.
Game 1, opening night here in Los Angeles. Best of 7 playoff series between the Rockets and the Lakers. You see each team with 2 full timeouts. Lakers also have a 20, and the Lakers have a foul to give. More importantly, they have a 2-point lead. And what's been a big night here at the Staples Center. Sylvester Stallone, among the many celebrities, as usual, on here to watch the Lakers. Jimmy Smits. Right now, a 2-point game. As Kobe Bryant will go to the free throw line. 6 of 7 from the line is Bryant.
But the fact that the Lakers are shooting 34% here for the game is not a good sign on their home court. And Shaq in the second half has got 1 point, 0 for 4 shooting.
That's after he had a big first half with the 16 points.
And 11 rebounds.
They try to pick and roll and defended very well. Taylor. 3 seconds. Well, it's going to be a foul on Peyton. Over-aggressive on his post defense. Lakers still not in the penalty. Next one will be as Peyton picks up his second. 3:16 remaining. There has been no double-digit lead in this game. Again, largest for the Lakers was 8. Rockets a few times have been up by as many as 3. Francis hard to the goal, draws the foul. O'Neal hit him, and Shaquille O'Neal with his 3rd.
Mike, in every game between these two teams, late in the game, there's always Steve Francis down that right lane getting hard fouled by Shaquille O'Neal.
Francis, again, that's what he does best. Gets into the paint. He's strong from the free throw line. Tonight he's 2 for 4. You know, he's not John Stockton. He's not that type of point guard. He's a scoring point guard. And he's not a guy that's going to be able to, you know, lead the league in assists. He looks for his shot, but the one thing he has to do is cut back on his turnovers. And it's been a problem for him. He's got 7 tonight, but he's still making big plays. However, misses a big free throw there.
Is it Yao Ming's defense that shut down here, Shaq in the second half, or is it Shaq's knee that he hurt? Lakers struggling here to find something.
O'Neal kicks it out. Bryant off the dribble. And Francis has done a good job on the boards. He's got 8 rebounds.
The double team defense for the Rockets has been outstanding here in the second half.
Taylor makes his move over Malone. Oh, Taylor with a big bucket. He's in double figures in the game. Tied again with 2.5 to play. Crowd trying to rile up the LA Lakers.
Bring Karl Malone to the ball side.
O'Neal. And there's a foul for Yao Ming. That's his 5th. But Shaquille O'Neal just 3 of 9 from the line.
Taking advantage of Karl Malone's lack of mobility. The injuries taking their toll. Maurice Taylor just looking at him and saying, you can't stop me. You got jumpers, drives, I'm going to just overpower you at the basket area. Who would have ever thought that we'd say that about Karl Malone?
Yao Ming has said he's been tired. He looks it there.
If you're not tired playing against Shaquille O'Neal, that means you've been sitting on the bench with a lot of fouls from the first quarter.
Against Shaquille O'Neal, you see in the second half so quiet. Lowest free throw percentage in the last 7 years for him at 49%. And he's now missed 8 free throws here tonight. Coming up on 2 minutes remaining in game 1. Rockets hung tough all night long. Francis draws the foul.
There's another one of those hard fouls by Shaq down the lane. Francis banged up coming in, shaking every part of his body trying to get up.
His right wrist and his left elbow are 2 of his injuries, but again, so many players banged up at this time of year. He's going to go to the free throw line to try and give the Rockets the lead with 2:02 remaining.
Foul trouble for Yao Ming here. Shaquille O'Neal just had no idea where the ball was. He had his back turned to the play. By the time he reacted, all he could do was foul. Francis has done a good job of accepting that contact.
Well, it's something he's never been afraid of.
Yeah, but a lot of guys, when they see Shaq or Karl coming, they just say, well, I'm just going to throw it up there and try to get out of here alive.
Steve Francis playing in his first ever NBA playoff game. This is now his 5th year in the league. He's been a 3-time All-Star, a starting player in the All-Star, but he's never tasted the postseason. And here at crunch time, he's not afraid to make the big plays. Rockets by 2.
Only 2 active players that ever scored more career points that have never played in the playoffs than Steve Francis.
Kobe Bryant.
Oh, what a rebound.
Yao Ming comes away with it. O'Neal had a good look at a tip, but couldn't get it to fall. And Yao Ming with his 11th board. Don't forget, coming up, Sports Center is next. After this exciting game 1, Jackson. And O'Neal with a strong rebound. Francis fouls him right away. And
it appeared to be an intentional foul, but Van Gundy is over there looking, what is going on? The expression on Jeff Van Gundy's face.
The way Francis fouled him right away, you made it seem like it was strategy, but the way Van Gundy reacted, it obviously wasn't. Now, you have to be careful if you're going to go to fouling Shaquille O'Neal down the stretch, because you're under the 2-minute mark in the away from the play foul. It would give you a free throw and possession of the ball. But that one obviously was in the middle of the play, as O'Neal had the ball.
Well, but Shaq's not making his free throws at all tonight. It seems to be getting worse.
17 points and 15 rebounds for Shaquille O'Neal, but he's missed 9 of 12 free throws.
Which are great numbers, except he had 16 and 11 at the half.
And finally gets one to go. 1-point game, just under a minute and a half remaining. Can the Rockets be the first road team to get a win in the 2004 playoffs?
Nice step out, Karl Malone.
The help defense, Taylor almost took it back. Jimmy Jackson now is on Kobe Bryant.
Take it out of Kobe Bryant's hands.
Malone wide open. And Francis with another rebound. That's his 9th.
And the job that Maurice Taylor did blocking Shaquille O'Neal off the board. Tremendous.
Francis wants to shoot this one, you can tell.
A lot of dribbling.
Gets it to Taylor. Taylor inside. Can't get the roll. And Yao Ming's tip won't go. Lakers down 1 with 35 seconds to play.
This is Kobe Bryant telling right here.
Finds Karl Malone. Rush has hit some big shots.
This is going up.
Shot clock down to 5. Bryant double team. That's a 3. O'Neal and a foul. Yao Ming is fouled out, and the Lakers regain the lead.
What a pass up against incredible duress. Kobe finds Shaq wide open underneath the basket. it. Just not enough of a rotation defensively by Yao Ming. Gets himself out of position and fouls out of the game. Kobe Bryant ecstatic with that pass.
Well, he should be happy about the play because that was a bad shot. I know he's hit so many thrilling shots, but that's a bad shot. And O'Neal bails him out with a huge offensive rebound. Meanwhile, Yao Ming, in his first playoff game ever, fouls out with 10 points and 11 rebounds, plus 2 block shots. And now a big free throw here. O'Neal will go to the line. Rockets still have 2 timeouts remaining.
The Rockets have to get any possible miss here.
Not even close, and a quick timeout by the Rockets with 16.4 remaining, and that is huge.
Do you go right away or do you wait for the last one?
I think you've got to go. You're down.
To beat the shot clock here, Shaquille O'Neal just getting that off.
The big offensive rebound, but now with 16.4 remaining, Rockets down 1 with the ball when we return.
Neil Everett and Steve Berthiaume are getting ready for SportsCenter. There are 4 game 1s in the NBA playoffs, including the Knicks trying to step up against the Nets.
We'll also show you Freddie Adu's first professional goal and A-Rod struggling with the Yankees. But for now, back to Mike Breen in L.A.
16.4 seconds remaining in game 1. Can the Rockets pull off the upset? They're down 1. Still have a timeout left, so if they have trouble inbounding the ball, they can call time. Lakers do not have a foul to give.
The key offensive creators are Steve Francis and Maurice Taylor. Whether those guys will actually get the shot, you got good shooters around him in Jim Jackson and Cuttino Mobley. Lakers with a plethora of timeouts are just going to say, okay, let's talk this over defensively.
So a full timeout call by Phil Jackson. Again, Yao Ming has fouled out of the game. So they'll have to do it without Yao Ming. But the Rockets so impressive all game long. In a game, again, the Rockets' defense is what got them into the playoffs. And defense is what has them on the verge of winning a playoff game.
But defense is going to do them no good right now. They got to score. And that means Steve Francis is probably going to just take that ball no matter what play that Van Gundy designs. Look for him to put it on the deck a lot and try to create something himself. His decision-making at the end, whether he's going to come and try to get it to Maurice Taylor, whether he's going to try to set up a man. You got a Jim Jackson and Cuttino Mobley. This type of situation, you want to drive the ball at their man. Not at the hoop to try to score yourself. Drive it at their man. Have him come off behind you. Then you lay it to him, and he has a wide open shot. He has a much greater percentage of going down.
That's been their success tonight when they take it to the basket. Francis has done that well. Our McDonald's Western Conference bracket. Spurs won their game 1 on their home floor easily over the Memphis Grizzlies. Of course, tomorrow, Sacramento and Dallas. That game on ABC. Minnesota, the #1 seed, hosting Denver. 3 games earlier today. The home team won all 3 and won easily. The last one, though, has been a tough haul the whole way for the Lakers. Steve Francis, it's been a feast or famine game for him. He's got 18 points, 9 rebounds, but he also has 7 turnovers.
How about the fact that Van Gundy comes with Weatherspoon, who's a fine player, but you really need offense. 1 time, 1 possession. You got Mark Jackson, you got Kwiatkowski, you got Scott Padgett.
Weatherspoon sets a pretty mean pick, and you need some screens here. Francis comes to the ball, but Payton denies. Weatherspoon wants to get rid of the ball. Excellent defense, and they have to use their final timeout. That's a smart play from Weatherspoon because you could see it was complete chaos.
He wanted no part of that ball.
So 11 seconds remaining. Rockets will inbound when we return, but now Houston is out of timeouts. Houston Rockets trailing by 1. They have their ball in the front court, but they're out of timeouts as they had trouble getting into their offensive play on that last possession, mainly because of the ball denial of Gary Payton.
And Houston just waited too long. Gary Payton playing with a very sore back, just denying perfectly the balance, the quickness, the persistence and determination to deny possession. You've got to get your designated receiver moving to the ball earlier.
Still plenty of time to run a play and get off a quality shot. Weatherspoon again gets the ball. This time it gets into Francis's hands. Final seconds. Francis kicks it out. Jackson for the win. Won't go. O'Neal the rebound. And the game is over. The Lakers survive game 1. Jimmy Jackson had a great look, but it wouldn't fall, and the Rockets fall 1 point short. The Laker defense so solid when they had to be. Karl Malone stepping out, and then Shaq comes right over. The lunging Kobe Bryant forcing Jim Jackson to rush this. Francis made a good play, Bill. Penetration and then the dish. But they were up against so much time. There was not a lot to do there. Lakers never gave up defensively on the play. You saw Kobe Bryant get out there and contest the shot. Jeff Van Gundy has to like the shot. Jimmy Jackson, who's hit so many big ones, especially from three-point range, but Jackson just 5 of 19 tonight. Did have 12 rebounds, but couldn't hit the final shot. And Gary Payton and the Lakers win game 1, but it was a tough one. So the Lakers emerge. Final score once again, the Lakers 72, Rockets 71. Lakers lead the best-of-7 series 1-0. Coming up next, Sports Center. So for Bill Walton, Jim Gray, and our entire crew, Mike Breen saying so long from Los Angeles. An exciting game 1 on the opening day of the 2004 NBA playoffs. Sports Center is next.